Hello and welcome to the No Flipping Excuses Show, the only podcast in real estate investing that teaches what you need to know to find and flip deals right now. Wow. Break free the chains that are holding you back and join us on this episode with Jason Lucchesi.
Hey, what's up? It's Jason Lucchesi and welcome to the No Flipping Excuses Show. I am so excited that you are here with us today. We're going to be covering some great information that you can use, rip off, and duplicate in your business. So it's open game. We're going to be sharing a ton of awesome information. And I've got a good friend of mine joining us today. His name is Andrew Werner. Andrew, how are you doing today?
Doing excellent. Absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I have the privilege. I'm looking at an awesome photo above Andrew's head. So if you're listening to this on iTunes, you obviously can't see it. But if you're watching us right now, he's got an awesome Muhammad Ali photo that's autographed. I love memorabilia like that. That is awesome stuff. And I know that's completely off topic with leading into the show, but I love stuff like that. You can't see it in my office, but I got a nice little Michael Jordan ball sign. So,
nice.
You got to have cool stuff like that, right?
For sure, man. It makes everything stay interesting, right?
Absolutely. So Andrew, tell us a little bit about yourself for folks that don't know you. You know, how did you get started in the business and when did you get started in the business?
Well, it's kind of a twofold answer. I kind of grew up in real estate. My dad was a builder.
Oh, cool.
So I grew up in real estate, at least from the building standpoint. My dad had me working pretty early on, 14, 15 years old. And he'd always get me jobs working in the trades. So, I was framing houses at 16 and laying tile and doing all the grunt work. Yeah, no fun, but definitely built the work ethic. And so after I graduated from college, I went to work for my dad again, this time working in the business as opposed to kind of on the business and kind of learning more the business side of things. I realized pretty quickly that I didn't like two things. One, I didn't like working for my dad. And two, I didn't really like, the feast and famine nature of, construction, home building in general. So, but I still liked real estate. And so I was fortunate enough, very shortly after this book came out, it was bizarre. I watched the original Oprah Winfrey show with Robert Kiyosaki on it back in 1999, I think it was.
Okay.
And I'm never at home in the afternoon. I don't watch daytime TV, but it just happened that I popped in. I was, kind of destiny, I guess. And so I picked up the book after watching that show. And, this is 99, 2000. And the three things that I kind of came away with from that book was cash flow, real estate investing, and foreclosures. And none of those things that my dad ever really talked to me about. He just was building houses, over and over and over and over again. And so these are really foreign concepts, but at the same time, they were super exciting to me. So I spent the next few months looking for anybody who was involved in foreclosures, right? Because for whatever reason, I'm like 24 years old at the time, and I'm thinking to be a real estate investor, you have to do foreclosures. There's no other option, And right. So I was fortunate. Yeah, I literally didn't think there was anything else you could do. So I was fortunate enough to meet a couple of gentlemen who were buying houses at the trustee sale in Phoenix, and they were buying and fixing them up and retailing them. And they had a problem. They were pretty crappy at construction and construction management, but they had the acquisition side figured out. So it was kind of a nice marriage. I came in, I had that construction expertise, and they taught me the foreclosure business. And for the next 8 years, all I bought, every property I bought was only at the trustee sale. In fact, I never bought a property outside of the trustee sale in that whole time. And we did a massive amount of property in those 8 years, and not just in Phoenix. We branched out into multiple markets and had a pretty big machine going until the market crashed. So, yeah.
Well, dude, you got pretty lucky. You either probably could have watched Maury and found out who several different fathers either were or weren't, but you tuned into Oprah, and that changed it changed your viewpoint, and you got into real estate investing. Sure. That's a pretty cool turn of events. It could have went in a really different way if you would have turned on Maury. No, that's awesome, man.
Doubt.
So you get involved, somewhat out of college. You started working with your dad, then you meet up with these two investors. You work with them for about 8 years. So what are you doing now? Are you kind of like doing your own thing, or what's going on in your world now?
Yeah, so my world right now consists of really two things. I mean, I have an education company with a partner of mine, and we kind of do a local model. So similar to like what Fortune Builders does from a seminar standpoint, but we do it locally. So we don't go travel around the country doing that. But
Sure.
we do 3 or 4 previews to 3 days a year here in Phoenix. I've got a partner up in Portland. I've done them with up there as well. And so, we've got have a pretty good time, teaching from stage and getting some students and doing some coaching that way.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of an ancillary part of my business. And then I'm still wholesale to this day, but, not buying anything at the trustee sale right now. There's nothing really to buy. So,
right. Yeah. That's probably dried up.
Direct mail.
Oh, okay. So you, with your company, are you guys doing a lot, you said cold calling and direct mail?
Yep, both. Yep.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about that, because we're doing cold calling, and some of the folks that we've had on here in the past, that's kind of the big thing nowadays is cold calling. Direct mail is still direct mail. It's still going to get you some really solid results. And there's some other avenues too, but let's touch on the cold calling. How are you guys? Are you guys seeing a good response with that?
It's not as good now as it was a year ago. For those that don't know, I mean, Phoenix is probably the most competitive market in the country for real estate investing. We've got everybody and their mom here doing it, and obviously a bunch of pretty big name gurus that live here and operate here as well. And so
right.
It's just an extremely, extremely competitive market. And so about a year and a half ago, when we first got involved in cold calling, there wasn't that many people doing it. And so it was really, really, effective for us at that time. I mean, it was just phenomenally effective. It's less effective now. In fact, I'm still doing it, but we're doubling down more on direct mail right now, because it seems like everybody's moving over to the cold calling, and I like being where everybody else isn't,
Sure.
And so, we're still doing it, and we're still getting leads, and we're still getting deals off of cold calling, but I would say we're spending more focus right now on direct mail. So.
No, that's smart. That's smart. And one of the things that we always recommend to, partners that come into our training programs as well is the direct mail route is key. And once you have that, you have to make sure you do a follow-up campaign. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it too. But one of the things we do with our list is we get it skip traced. We get the whole list skip traced, because it then turns your phone call that you would be doing with like your dialer. We use Mojo. So if you import that list in there now, you at least have somewhat of a warm shoo-in. You could say, hey, I sent you out a letter last week. It was in reference to me and my team. We're interested in purchasing properties, blah, 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 something like that. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, I did receive your letter. Other than, cold calling might be a little bit different because it's cold. It's ice cold until you can break down somebody's barrier. So I would be interested to hear what do you do from like a follow-up standpoint once you do that direct mail in order for it to really give you that strong return on your investment?
So, I would say we do two things, and I'll kind of start with before talking about the follow-up. We really focus hard on data mining.
Okay.
And so really just kind of being almost data scientists, for lack of a better word,
Sure.
And so really doing niche lists. And so, one of the things that we do is we, no matter what list we're mailing to, so let's say we're mailing to a senior list, or let's say we're mailing to an absentee owner list, we run that through a vacancy check every single time. And so we've been, for probably the last 6 months, we've been doing list stacking. And I don't know if any of your listeners are familiar with that, but essentially we've taken every list that we've mailed in the last, 4 or 5 years, and we have software that we upload that into, and it tells us in that software how many of those lists are multiples. So like, let's say I've got a vacant list, and let's say I've got a absentee owner list, and let's say I've got a foreclosure list, and the software will tell me that, hey, there's this one person who's on all three of these lists. Oh, wow. Well, that's somebody I definitely want to reach out to because they've got 3 pain points, you know? Yep. And so if we can find people that have 3 or 4 pain points, even if they're from a list that's from 4 or 5 years ago, we want to hammer down on those. So it lets us really drill down on who we're actually mailing to. And then typically, again, using that software that we're using, we're able to do a vacancy check on the entire list. Meaning like, we've got like 1 million records in there. And so, every time we're just constantly uploading lists in there. And so if I just want to do a vacant list mailing, let's say, I can check on the vacancy, and the software checks it like twice a month, and boom, we can just do a vacant list mailing off of every list that we've ever uploaded into this software ever. So
that's cool.
That's kind of one thing that we do. And then obviously, I mean, most people are probably doing this, but then, you get your return postcards coming back to you, and then we skip trace those for sure, and then we're mailing those again, or we're hitting them on the phone. And like you said, if we're doing actual outbound calling, we're skip tracing that entire list. And one of the things that is really helpful is obviously when you skip trace a list, sometimes you'll get 10 phone numbers for one individual, right? Yeah. And so when we upload that into Mojo, if you don't do it right, what happens is you'll call this one person, and let's say it's a wrong number, and your caller hits the do not call list or whatever. Well, it drops out those other 9 numbers unless you segregate them, Right, and so we want every single one of those being called and not getting dropped off accidentally. So
right, exactly. And that's the great thing I like about Mojo is, we use a lot of it for our own CRM for a lot of our individuals on our team. They'll be on there doing the triple line dialer and all that kind of good stuff. But it helps out with, keeping us all organized to that point as well. So the software you're talking about, is that some sort of is that like your proprietary software, or is that just some software out there?
So I have a really good friend of mine who actually spent a grip of money developing this software. He's an investor up in Portland. You may know him. His name's Joe Taylor. But he's a pretty big investor up in the Northwest, specifically, Northern Oregon and Southern Washington area. Anyway, he developed the software. He's actually not even launched it yet, meaning started actively marketing it. They've got like 200 or 300 people that are paying for it right now at like $100 a month, but he hasn't even really pushed it out yet. It's still kind of in beta. So, but it's a slick software. So I don't have anything to do with the development of it or anything like that. I've just kind of given him feedback as he's been getting it going and saying, hey, you guys ought to tweak this or tweak that. And so
that's cool.
It's been a pretty big game changer for me. I think it's really, it's geared more towards, in my opinion, it's geared more towards the experienced investor. This would not be something for, a new guy to be trying to dive into right off the bat, because you just don't have enough records to really make it worth your while, Sure. And so, and if you haven't been saving yourself, your list for the last handful of years, you're going to have less to put in there as well. But, it's definitely kind of like next level stuff, Gotcha. But something I think that everybody ought to do once they start getting to that next level for sure.
So let me ask you this. So you said 3 points for the compiled list that you're going after as of right now with the records that you've been verifying for vacancy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you said absentee, vacant homes, and pre-foreclosures? Well,
I just use those as an example.
Oh, okay.
We've got lots of other lists that we're mailing. So, I mean,
Gotcha.
we're looking at probate or inherited houses or seniors or, like you said, foreclosures. I mean, there's any number of those that, that we're looking at any given time. I mean, I've got a list that we really like called the no data list. I mean, that's just kind of my name for it. But, essentially where a deed transfer happens and nobody really ever went to a title company, and so there's no record of how much the house sold for. It's usually an interfamily kind of thing that makes that happen. And there's a lot of opportunity in a list like that. You can get that one from list source. So yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I was actually going to ask you if you work with like the title company that you close transactions with to have them notify you of any recent quitclaim deed transfers, because that might also be, a way like somebody may have just gone through a divorce, or maybe somebody passed away and it's not a probate, It's what I call, an affidavit of death, to where somebody has to do a quitclaim deed. So those could pop up too, and be a good opportunity. Are you working with your title company at all to get any of those lists?
I'm not. I mean, we've got a really good relationship with our title company, and certainly we get quite a bit of free data from them. But some of the lists that I really like, you just got to flat out pay for them. The title company doesn't really have them, and so which is fine. I mean, it's just cost of doing business, and so
sure.
If we're getting good lists, and we've tried stuff before that didn't work, and so you go on and you go, okay, well, that didn't work, let's move on.
I hear you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's never fun when you drop like $4,000 on a mailing and you're like, oh man, we got like 2 phone calls, that's awesome.
No, I hear you. And what do you typically do? Like if you did have something like that, you received 2 phone calls on that, would you continue to mail to a list like that?
I haven't. Typically we might circle back around and try a smaller mailing to it, 6 months later, just to see if maybe it was a fluke or something, but we won't spend as much money on it.
Gotcha.
We might, just retest it and see if there's something, out of it. And, we've done a lot of, like Maricopa County is the main county for Phoenix Metro. It's the largest land size county in the country. It's massive.
Gotcha.
From a geographical standpoint. And like I said before, we've got a lot of people that we're competing with out here. But we go into some of these smaller counties also in Arizona where there's less people doing it. And we kind of cherry pick some pretty good deals out in, some of these outlying counties that are kind of smaller. So like, in Arizona, that'd be like, the county that Flagstaff's in, or the county that Prescott's in, or something like that, And so you're not going to get as many deals. You're not going to make a living off of just focusing on those, but you can get some pretty deep discounts because nobody else to compete with.
Right. No, absolutely. And, we could go and find all of these great deals and get them at really great discounts. But at the end of the day, what we really need to focus on, especially as wholesalers, and you probably, didn't start, and you probably, you're in a way right now to where you're more advanced. You've been closing transactions now for a very long period of time. But how important would you say it is to actually have qualified buyers on your list that can close properties quickly? From, especially, you're sending out, thousands of dollars worth of direct mail, and you're getting these deals under contract. How important do you think it is to have good quality cash buyers on your database?
It's the most important. I mean, other than getting your deals, it's the most important. In fact, I think that it's a job that never ends. I mean, you're constantly building your buyer's database. It's something that you'll never stop doing as long as you want to stay in this business, because buyers come and go all the time. I mean, people, they're in this business for a minute and then they're gone, or, you never know when your next whale of a client who's going to buy 100 deals a year off you or whatever. I mean, we're constantly building our buyers list for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
Well, let me ask you this, and maybe let's just talk one strategy. What's one strategy that you would feel comfortable sharing as far as finding, good quality cash buyers?
So, I mean, this one's super, super easy. So you can go to your title company, you can get a list of cash buyers in the last 6 months. All right. And that's a pretty easy list. If you have any relationship with a title company, you could buy that list too, but you could get that free from your title company. And so cash buyers in the last 6 months, and then we segregate that. Everybody that's only bought one, we get rid of them because they might've just bought their own house. Right. And so then if there's 2 or more, we know that they're an investor. Now the LLCs, are problematic because we can't skip trace the LLCs. So we get rid of the LLCs, and now we're down to just, Bob Smith or Jane Doe or whatever. Right. And then we skip trace those and we start phone calling them, hey, would you like to get added to our, our database? Looks like you're an investor, that kind of thing. We text message them. And then, the other thing that you can do if you really want to kind of take it up another level is, we take those LLCs that we weren't able to skip trace, and we can have a VA then go to the Corporation Commission's website, find out who the members are of that. Then we can get those people's names. And then if we really wanted to, go to the extra effort, we could go find them on Facebook and then direct message them on Facebook and say, hey, would you like to get added to my buyers list? So, I mean, there's like, I don't know, that's probably like 3 or 4 different answers to the same question, but
no, I love it though. But you're exhausting, you started with the one, and it all stemmed from the one. And all you did was you really just exhausted it to its fullest potential, which I love that you do something still with the entities, that you still go and find out who they are, because that's all free, and you could outsource that easily to a virtual assistant. So that's awesome in my opinion. And once you get their information, call them and have a conversation with them. And like you said, Andrew, you could text them, set up an appointment, have a quick conversation with them. Be like, hey, I saw that you purchased 223 Main Street. Want to let you know I'm coming across properties that are very similar, and want to see if you were interested in purchasing more. It's just simple conversations like that. It's either a yes or a no, and more than likely you'll get yeses. And you'll know that they're legit, because the thing is, how many times have you done this, especially probably early on in your career, to where you're like, hey, send me a proof of funds letter. I just want to make sure that, you could close. And most of the time, most buyers, if they're just starting to get to know you, they're not wanting to give you that information. They don't know you. They don't want to give you their personal info. But with the list that you just said, Andy, you know that they've closed. So it's something that's been done within the last 6 months too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and then if you really want to take it up to another level, then you can take that same list, whether we got the names from the corporation commission, the individual names that we got from the title company, we compile that, and then we can hire a marketing company. I don't know how to do this. I just pay somebody to do it, but we, upload that into Facebook, and then we've got a custom audience that we start marketing to, where our ads just showing to them constantly, and it costs us very little because it's such a small niche amount of people that we're actually marketing to, saying, hey, do you want to buy houses, deals for cash? We got your deals, click here and get on our buyers list.
So you're exhausting it even more at that point. That's awesome.
Then we're following them like a stalker for the next 2 weeks. Every time they click on our ad,
they're being retargeted over and over and over.
Yeah, they're like on New York Times website, and they're like, "Why is this guy here? I don't know what he's doing."
That's awesome. No, that's awesome, man. So from your cash buyer database, as you've started to establish relationships with those people, have you been able to develop it in a way to where you've been able to possibly structure private money transactions with them?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I mean, one of the great things about having a database at all, ever, for anybody is that there's so many different ways that you can use it. So, I mean, I had a partner of mine that was putting together a land syndication last November, I think it was. They're buying 600 odd acres in the middle of Arizona, and they were going to do an assemblage with it, and the entitlement and everything. But it was a big raise, and he asked me just to send out an email for him, and it was an investment that I was getting involved in as well. And so I dropped an email to my list that was just more or less just halfway decent copy, and I'm just not saying address or anything like that, but here's kind of the story. Let me know if you're interested, and we get, 15, 20 people that raise their hand. And then I just handed them off to my buddy, and, he vetted them, and, we raised quite a bit of money that way. And that's just one small thing that we can do with that list, that's out of the norm,
Oh yeah.
And so there's just lots of ways. So like from a private money standpoint, there's lots of people that might come join your list and then go, you know what? Fixing and flipping houses is more work than I need. I'm an attorney or I'm a doctor. I don't have the time for that. But you know what? I've got cash.
Yeah.
And this guy, Andy, he seems like he knows what he's doing. So, I've had people just email me before and say, hey, you got room for like 200 grand? Can you use that right now? Sure. We can put that to work, so.
Sure. Yeah.
No problem. Yeah. So, but those are the ancillary things that you get off of building a buyer's list and building trust and building rapport with your list and constantly giving them value as much as possible. So
no, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Let me ask you this question. I love finding out what people are reading. So I'm not sure if you are reading anything new or anything great that you've read like within the last 6 months or so? What's been a good entrepreneur business book, anything like a motivational book? Like, do you have anything you could recommend?
Boy, man, I read a lot. Let me see here. Well, I should say I listen a lot and I read some.
No, I'm with you, but I hardly ever actually read. I do nothing but audiobooks.
For sure. I mean, I still like reading, but it's so hard to find the time. And usually I'm doing it right before bed and I get like one page in and then I'm out,
Exactly.
So I'm pretty wiped. It sounds Grant Cardone's real estate book I read just a week ago. I thought that was actually really good.
Good.
I've always wanted to get into apartment investing. I just never have. And it's not like it's outside of my breadth or anything like that. So I've been really wanting to dive more into, learning about how to get into multi-units, not just, triplexes and fourplexes, but getting into bigger stuff. And I've owned a couple of apartment complexes in the past, but not huge, like 30 units or something. So I've been wanting to kind of get into the more, so anyway, I picked up his book. I thought that was quite good. From a basic standpoint, from a book, I mean, it wasn't like, here's the thing, all the bits and pieces you got to go do. From a business standpoint, one that I read, it's probably been about 6 months now, but The Pumpkin Plan.
Oh yeah, that's a good book.
Excellent book. Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah,
really
Michalowicz.
good. Yeah, that was really good. There's a book that I'm still reading right now that I really like. That's not business, but it's kind of more health related. And I can't remember the name of it, but it's by Aubrey Marcus, who is the founder of On It, which is a pretty big company out of Austin, Texas that, kind of sells.
Joe Rogan?
Yeah. Well, Joe Rogan definitely is an owner of the company, I think. Yeah, I think he's a part owner of that company. Yeah. So anyway, the main owner of the company, the guy that runs the business, is a guy named Aubrey Marcus. Anyway,
cool.
It's I think it's the only book he has out, but it's a fascinating book, just about little tips and tricks to kind of biohack your life.
Nice.
I'm always looking for an edge or something like that. So
that
one's been pretty good. I love getting involved in podcasts. Often I seem like I get kind of go down a rabbit hole of a podcast and I don't bounce out of it. So like, Ed Milet's one I've been following a lot lately. I really like checking him out, and he's got some good stuff.
Yeah. Ed's great. Yeah. He's got a good show for sure. No, that's awesome, man. So how can people, if they want to get a hold of you, how can they reach out to you, man?
Well, there's a handful of ways. I mean, you can find me on Facebook. I'm under Andrew Werner, Werner on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm at Wingman Werner. You can email me, Andy@wingmaninvesting.com. I mean, pretty much any of those ways you can get a hold of me.
Awesome, dude. Well, do you have any parting words for our listeners that are either watching us right now on Facebook Live or they're listening to this on iTunes?
My parting word to everybody listening, and I think this applies, and I say this because it's something I say to myself often, is there's nothing that's ever going to change in your life without taking action. You absolutely have to take action. And so we can talk about reading books and we can talk about listening to podcasts, and all that stuff's great, but we're just filling our minds with knowledge if we're not actually applying it. And so get out there and take action. You're not going to break anything. Are you going to make some mistakes? You bet you are. I still make mistakes every single day, ones I wish I could take back sometimes, but at the end of the day, we're not learning unless we're making those mistakes. We're not learning unless we're actually applying something. So I would just say, hey, whether you've already started in this business, you're wanting to get involved in this business, or you've been in this business for a very long time, keep taking action, keep pushing forward, and taking measured risks as you kind of move forward. So, I mean, that'd be my parting words.
No, I love it. Andrew, you've been a great guest. For those of you that have been listening to the show, make sure you go leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you felt like Andrew definitely delivered the goods, then please make sure you go and do that so that we know that you liked the episode, that we know that we could continue to put out great episodes like this. If you need anything from us whatsoever, we are here for you. You could contact us by emailing us, support@jasonluchesi.com, and that is support@JASONLUCCHESI.com. So that has been a wrap from us. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. That was some really awesome information that he was able to share with us. I know there wasn't just one golden nugget shared, but there was multiple golden nuggets that you could implement and take action in your business. So with that being said, thanks for joining us on the No Flipping Excuses Show. Go flip a house. Talk to you later.